Good afternoon. My name is Peter Vanstee. I am a technical consultant with SolidCAD. My role here is to train and teach everyone about Revit and other programs that we use. In the meantime, one of the things that we also take a look at is certain softwares like CTC tools. In this case, there are a couple tools that we can take a look at. Namely, in this case, we want to take a look at the revision manager. So in Revit, under the CTC software tab, we do have the CTC BIM project suite. One of the options in here is actually the revision manager tool, which allows us a lot greater flexibility around adding and working with revisions within the actual within the program. So let's take a look and see what is the current workflow that we need to work with to actually go about creating additional revisions on each sheet. So to start with, I'll have to go into a floor plan just like this. And I'll actually have to go to the properties palette and find revisions on sheets. And then from here, I can go and say, oh, this project, or this sheet specifically, was issued for this, issued for permit, issued for tender, issued for construction, and that's it. And I have to say, okay. But I have to do that for every single sheet in the entire project, not necessarily the most useful method available to us. And so CTC gave us an amazing tool to allow us to do that same, very similar workflow in a much easier way, okay? So I can actually go into the revision manager tool. And so within this tool, we can see that there are a bunch of sheets in here. So I can see the exact same sheet number and sheet name for each one of these. They all have their own element ID, if you're familiar with what that is within the program. And we also have each sequence of revision within the program too. So let's take a look at what that sequences actually are before we dive really deep into this, okay? So I'm gonna just jump back into our revisions dialog. And so within this revisions dialog, we actually have sequence numbers for each of our revisions. So in this case, issued for construction is actually sequence 3. So this is what everything is based on. And the reason we're doing sequence number and not revision number is because if I have, right now I have it set to per project, and revision number makes perfect sense. But if I set it to per sheet, which honestly most of my clients actually work with, that numbering goes away because I have a unique set of numbering on a sheet by sheet basis, okay? So in this case, the sequence is the only thing that stays accurate. So we're just going to stick to per project, and we're going to say OK. So in this case, issue for construction is sequence 3. So remembering that, we can always go back into revision manager and take a look at each of our sheets. And I can say, oh, for each one of these, I want to issue them for construction for each one of those. But you might say, oh, Peter, it's a lot, it's kind of hard to actually just click on each individual item. Well, in that case, there's a lot of things that we can do in here. For example, I can save this entire schedule here, and that's what it really is, a schedule. I can save this out onto, let's say, my desktop here. Let's replace what I currently have. Just open it in Excel. And now I can see the exact same information that I had, sheet numbers, sheet names, and those same sequences. And I can go through and say, oh, I just want to add an X in here. I want to add an X in there. I know this one needs to have it. These two need to have it. Oops. That one does, and so on and so forth. So I can actually go through and simply add in all of the other revisions that I want to add for each of those sheets. And now I can simply save this and go back into Revit. And I just want to say, load that particular sheet up again. Say open. These are it tells you which sheets actually have alterations happen to them. And then when I say take a look in the actual schedule, all of those different revisions are applied to each of those sheets. So each of these sheets fully controllable either from this view or from Excel by saving this out to an Excel document and saving that changed work or loading it back into your project. So all of that fully able to add in whatever we need to. I can also go in and say I want to either check none of the revisions or check all of the revisions for that particular sheet. So if I had everything but 2, it's a lot faster to go in and say check all and then uncheck the 2 that were not issued. Okay, so that's a very easy method of actually working with the revisions that we currently have available to us. Okay, so on top of that, there's also an option for adding or another option for working with revision clouds within our project, because this door over here is swinging in, and I'm going to issue this for addendum 2. That's fine. So this door needs to swing out as part of that change. Well, as part of this revision cloud, I'm actually going to come in and add a comment to this revision cloud saying changed door to swing out. And I can simply add that exact same thing. And you know what? This door also needs to change as well. So it's a very simple matter of the exact same process that we had before, except this time I'm actually going through and adding comments into all of my revisions. Well, to my revision clouds, sorry. In this case, I can also say, I don't just have a whole set of revisions. I also have a lot more data in my model. There's a lot more information in here. What was changed within this revision cloud, I can actually see. I can actually take a look. But I might want to schedule all of those. Unfortunately, we don't have an option for, there's no revisions in this particular revision clouds that are available to schedule. So instead, our CTC software tool gives us that option as well. So I can actually open up my revision manager. You can still see all of the issues on each of the different sheets. But if I tab over to go to the next tab, revision clouds, I can see not just how many clouds I have in my entire project, but I can also say what sheet they're on, what view they're in, what's the detail number of that sheet, what's the revision number of that particular revision, what's the description of that revision, issue for addendum 2. And I can see all of the different comments about each of those revisions. Now, if I wanted to say, oh, is that particular cloud hidden or not? If I set one of them to be hidden, it's now gone from what's happening in the back. So from this dialog, I can selectively hide or unhide individual revisions without having to go back into the revision manager, or without having to go into a view find the revision cloud and then hide that specifically from there. So I can easily go and take a look through my entire project, the entire project for all of my revision clouds without having to check anywhere else. I will note that revision number is only going to show us the actual revision number correctly if because this is pulling from the entire project, not just an individual sheet. Because it's pulling from the entire project, if I have a per sheet revisioning, per sheet numbering, it might be revision 2 on one sheet and revision 5 on another sheet. And therefore, it will say per sheet revisioning instead of an actual revision number. If I have a per project numbering, it will give me the actual number. Okay. I can open up the revisions dialog directly from the tool without having to go back and forth, without having to look for those buttons, because it is dependent directly on what's happening within this particular dialog. So I can instantly open up and see exactly what is inside of the project. So which revisions are there and how to work with those. Okay. So under Revision Manager, we can still go back and take a look and see exactly what's happening for all of my individual sheets and revisions on those sheets, or taking a look at seeing what's happening for all of my revision clouds as well. So we do have an ability to filter what's happening here based on what's on what sheet. So I only want to see what's happening on A1, or only on what's on A2. Or maybe I want to type in, maybe I want to see just views that are on a sheet, or maybe the ones that are only not on a sheet. So I see everything. The same thing, that's just the view filter. Also revision filter. If I only want to see stuff that's issued for addendum 2. How about issue for construction? Nothing there. Or everything. So I can take a look at individual things as well. And again, I can also save this out as an Excel document. So we have ability to track each of these revisions. All right. Another thing about all of our tools is that each of our tools comes with the set of options at the very top. The help button simply loads up a PDF and navigates directly to the portion about this particular tool. So you can read more about what's happening in this tool and how that might work. We also have a section over here for videos, in case you don't want to sit down and read what's happening inside an individual tool. You can be taken directly to YouTube and see the YouTube video about this particular tool. If there is a problem and something is not working, you can always go ahead and choose support and get linked directly with a knowledgeable support person and get your issues sorted out right away. And lastly, it's just about this particular set of tools. In this case, I have, this is about the Revision Manager, but I can always download the latest version of our CTC BIM project suite. So with that, that covers all of our revisions within the Revision Manager tool within the BIM Manager suite. If there are any questions, please feel free to use the chat box, and we'll be able to answer any of those questions that you may have. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions come into the question and answer or with the chat. So with that, I think I will stop this. Oh, there is a question, I'm sorry. Is this an add-in program to Revit or a standalone software? So this is a this is from CTC software. So this is actually a single tool set. For a single price, you get all of these tools. We were just covering the single revision manager individual tool. All of these dark green tools are part of the paid version. There is a whole set of free tools as well. So even if you don't end up using any of the paid version, there are a ton of free ones in here, which I do recommend using regardless of if you pay for the entire software or not. So it is it's an add-in on top of Revit, but it comes as part of the CTC BIM Project Suite package. Okay, if there's no other questions, then I will call it here for today. Okay, thank you for joining us. We will have plenty more of these webinars in the future, covering all sorts of different topics. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you all next time.